In the previous contents of the lesson, we referred to the chart of accounts as a list of accounts which describes different kinds of accounting elements, assets, liabilities, income, etc., according to the nature of the operations. We also explained what is the journal ledger, the book or file where we chronologically write down the journal entries, which let us record the variations in the different accounts as an exhibit of the nature and monetary value of the operations carried out by a company. Now we are going to introduce the journal ledger and the trial balance. The general ledger of an account reports its initial balance at the beginning of period, the movements during the period, and as a result, the balance of the account at the end of period. If it is an asset, the initial balance is in the debit column, as in the journal entries, increases in its value are registered as additional debits, whereas decreases are written down as debits. At the end of period, as for every asset, the sum of debits must be higher than the sum of credits, and the difference is the balance, the carrying amount of the asset in the balance sheet. In the example of general ledger for an asset, cash, at the beginning of period 1, we start with a balance of 100,000 euro debit, which equals its balance at the end of the previous period. There was an outflow credit of 60,000 euro at the 1st of January due to the purchase of a truck. The next movement is an inflow from freight revenues, disclosed as a debit for 90,000 euro. The following movements are all outflows: wages, fuel, and taxes paid. We respectively write down debits for 30,000, 20,000, and 1,000 euro. At the end of period, the outcome is a final balance of 79,000 euro, which is the figure disclosed in the balance sheet as of the 31st of December, year 1. In this second example of journal ledger, here you find the case of a liability. At the end of the previous period, the 31st of December, year 0, the balance of this account was 20,000 euro. As of the 1st of January, year 1, we open a new period in the journal ledger. This means that we will start writing down a journal entry with the carrying amount of all the accounts previously recognized in the balance sheet as of the 31st of December, year 0. We debit the balances of all the assets, and we credit the balances of all the equity and liabilities accounts. From then on, as for the account non-current debt with financial institutions, at the 6th of June, year 1, in the journal ledger, we wrote down a credit in this liability for 50,000 euro, and as a counterpart, suppose we debit cash. From the journal ledger, we extract the movement reported in the journal ledger as an increase in the balance of the account non-current debt with financial institutions, as you can see in the second line. The number on the right is the number of the journal entry. At the end of period X1, we add up interest accrued on the debt, a credit for 1,000 euro, and we do recognize 60,000 euro, that is, we debit it, when this amount becomes a short-term debt. In the balance sheet as of the 31st of December year 1, the non-current debt with financial institutions will exhibit a final credit balance of €11,000. In the column on the right, we may check the number of the journal entry which corresponds with every movement. This slide explains how we build up the codes of the list of accounts under the Spanish General Accounting Plan. Accounts have 3 digits. The first one indicates the group the account belongs to. The second digit gives us the subgroup. Adding a 4th digit to the account, we have what we call a sub-account. If we remember the basic structure of a balance sheet, where we recognize assets as a debit and equity and liabilities as a credit, the codification in the chart of accounts intends to allocate homogeneous groups of these accounting elements. Prior to explain this allocation, we are going to divide assets between non-current and current assets. The accounting standards used to define what current assets are: those which are settled or in due in less than 12 months or in an interval lower than the business cycle duration, when this is higher than 12 months. The business cycle is the one which starts when acquiring raw materials or merchandise and ends up when the company collects the revenue from the customers. Similarly, current liabilities are the ones which are settled or in due in less than 12 months or in an interval lower than the business cycle duration, should this one be higher than 12 months. For instance, in shipping building companies. Every asset and liability that doesn't meet the definition of current asset or current liability is classified as non-current asset or non-current liability.